Hello, racers, and welcome to a brand new episode of Race in Review, the podcast started by a couple of sim racers that love Formula One racing and started this show because we got in trouble with the FOM. And of course, check out our YouTube channel, which we haven't been able to name yet, so give us a thumbs up and subscription if you are there, because this week we will bring out some more sim racing content if all things go well as we planned it to be. Anyways, we always talk about the latest Formula One race and we predict the upcoming race. And oh yeah, one more thing. One of us supports Lewis, the other one supports Max. But that might change into Lando and Max. So we'll find out in this episode. We still get along though in the wonderful world of Formula One. My name is John and I'll be your host today talking about the race in Singapore. And I am joined, because I couldn't do this alone, by the man with the best hair in the business, with even people in Argentina see now. It's none other than James Hazel.
Hello there. How's it going?
I was good. I was doing well, but I had a little bit of issue with my English halfway through the intro. Besides that, I'm good, mate.
Yeah, good. Everyone gets a bit of brain fade now and then.
Definitely. I just tend to get it into the intro or the outros these days. It's good to better that than during my predictions. Big shout out, James, for all the new Argentina fans coming not only in Formula One but tuning into the show.
Yeah, that's quite fun to see.
Yeah, it was really cool. Leave us keep giving us those comments. But yeah, Colapinto is a hit, mate. It's cool to see.
Yeah, he is. He's amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan already. Yeah.
Shall I try to summarize the Singapore Grand Prix in 1 minute or so?
If you think you can, go for it. Yeah.
I will try it. We started free practice with the Red Bulls and especially Max Verstappen looking really bad. Lando and the Ferraris and Piastri, of course, fighting along really well. Mercedes peeking in until it was qualification time. And in qualification, as predicted, Lando Norris got P1 pole position, another one added to the list in a lap. He didn't actually think it was that good. However, number 2 qualified Max Verstappen, which, well, everyone wondered could he make it to Q3 in Singapore. So that was, well, aiming for a top fight in the race. Then the race started off and we did not actually get a fight. Lando drove away 20 seconds. Max drove away 20 seconds from Piastri and they finished with a 1-3 McLaren podium. A second place for Max Verstappen. Colapinto showing everyone what he's made of, even scaring his teammate, which was sort of funny. The Ferraris looking way better in the race than actually during qualifying itself. I think that's sort of it, James. I found it a rather boring race, if I'm quite honest.
I think Mercedes probably were a little bit of a surprise in qualifying, but then race pace wasn't great. Russell was sort of okay.
Hamilton tires just crumbled, though.
Yeah, Hamilton was compromised by his bit of a gamble for starting on third on the grid, but I think he was hoping for a safety car in the first few laps, starting on those used softs.
Yeah, I saw a lot of commentary about that, saying why do you gamble when he's up top there? Before this race, there was 100% safety car in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Race.
Yeah.
So it always was a safety car in Singapore until this race. And this is the 6th or 7th race in a row we did not see a safety car, James?
I think it's like the 8th now or something. It's crazy. But yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen an actual safety car on circuit in front of Formula One cars, at least.
Mylander, as I saw, driving for 25 years this weekend.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing as well.
It is, yeah, quite a career.
I have to check though. Now
pretty easy job as well, based on the last few races.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's sometimes it's easy.
Just sit in his car with a cappuccino or something, or an espresso, just waiting.
It's pretty amazing, just sitting there waiting for. They crash. Oh no. He had 3 incidents in the race though, where it was like, oh, this is probably my cue to go out with Lando going on.
Very, very close. Yeah. And also Magnussen's puncture and Albon's engine failure or whatever it was. It went into limp mode, didn't it? I think it was overheating. So there's a couple of moments in the race where it's like, oh, are we getting the safety car at last? But it just didn't pan out that way.
No, it definitely did not. Lando getting the win. Max finishing second is something I had never expected here, if I'm quite honest, James. This is the first time I celebrated as a second place for Max.
Yeah, I think that was an underrated drive from Max, and I don't think he's going to quite get the praise that he deserves for it. When you look at Perez, I think
Who again qualified
didn't even make
really
it to
poor.
Q3.
Yeah.
Per qualifying, not a great race. Made it past a couple of cars, got stuck behind Colapinto for a long time, and then after that, I didn't make any more progress. I think he jumped him in the pit stops, and that was it.
You're pretty harsh today, aren't you, Perez? You should give the guy some slack.
No. This is the king of the streets, apparently. I
don't know which street, but
I don't know which street either. It's none of the streets that Formula One visits anyway. I don't think. But yeah, what I'm really getting at is that if we continue to use Perez as a sort of benchmark for Max in the car, I mean, it's not a very fair one because, like we say, we keep slagging off and slating Perez because he's not doing very well this season at all, or the majority of the end of last season either. But Max finishing P2, I think, was a massive outperformance of what the car should have been delivering. I think our guesses were, I guess fifth, you guess sixth, something like that in our
something like
predictions. I think that was reasonable. Looking at how he was performing in pre-practice, it looked like that's roughly where he was going to be. To qualify second and then to maintain second in the race. Yes, he finished 20 seconds behind Norris, but then he still finished 20 seconds ahead of the next person. I think that was just a brilliant drive from Verstappen, and he's probably not going to get a lot of praise for it because he finished 20 seconds behind Norris.
on a track. That's the worst track.
But I think 20 seconds behind Norris at Singapore in a Red Bull is actually a pretty good result, and for no other drivers in between the pair of you. So, yeah, I think that's a great drive from Verstappen. Yeah.
I got a lot of focus points to go on. Let's start with Verstappen, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
No words, James. No words.
No.
What happened there? Can you explain it to the people listening?
I can explain as best as I can, but I haven't been following this super closely. I just know that they're wanting to clamp down on all the swearing. Max doesn't like that. So now Max is just not saying a lot.
There's a little bit nuance there, though.
Yeah.
He said the F word during a press conference on Thursday, where they asked him, what do you think about it? He says, when you're in the car, there's no stopping it, and it's just they can choose not to broadcast it, right? And I feel that's a proper explanation, because if you're sitting in a football stadium and you hear the players when you're sitting front row, or at a basketball match,
any sport,
it's cursing all over.
Even tennis, you look at tennis and you think that's quite like I don't want to say like a gentlemanly sport, because obviously it's not just men that play it. There's the women's side of it as well. But it's like it's seen as quite like a nice sport. But the players get shouty and sweary even at the referee.
But you don't mic them up.
When you're full of adrenaline, competing the thing that you're at the top of your game on, I don't see how you don't end up slipping out a swear word here.
Even you, of a kind-hearted, well-spoken Brit, if you are driving a sim, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've sworn.
Crikey, I'd say.
Oh yeah, gee whiz. Oh gosh darn it. Yeah. No, I think this is a ridiculous rule to put in place. Like, how is somebody supposed to stop themselves from saying what they want to say in the heat of the moment? No filter is applied in that. if you're almost wiped out by somebody, or like recently, it was this year, wasn't it, when George Russell ended up? I mean, he didn't actually swear, but when he ended up in the middle of the track with the bottom of his car
He
facing
actually
oncoming,
said crikey.
yeah, he, you could hear in his voice he was panicking
Yeah.
because those cars are not designed to take an impact in the bottom of the car. Like if a car had gone into the bottom of his car full speed, he had the potential to be killed. No wonder he was panicking. Like if someone finds themselves in a situation like that in a race, they are going to swear. George Russell is probably the one person who wouldn't. So he's actually, while he's a good example of an accident, he's a bad example of a sweary driver because he doesn't really swear. But
thing was, they said, Max, you said it in a press conference, and we have a written rule about the fact you can't say that in a press conference. So you got to report to the stewards.
Yeah.
And what happened there? He got a day of community service.
Community service, yeah. And that's become the meme of Singapore.
If you gave him a fine, it'd be done. He'd talk all weekend again. It's all good. You gave him a day of community service. You literally, FAA, you released a lion there.
Yeah.
You got petty Max now.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember? We've talked about this before. I can't remember what it was, but when Hamilton was quizzed about something that he said on the radio, because I think it might have been about Max. He'd called Max a name or something. He called him an idiot or something along those lines. And the Dutch press was like, I want to ask you about what you said on the radio about Max. And Vettel stepped in and said, in the heat of the moment, we all say things. If you mic up a football player, they're gonna say things that with a cool head they would regret. You can't take what's said in the heat of the moment literally like that. And it's the same with swearing. Like like I just said, there's no. It's hard to filter yourself in the heat of the moment. If you're looking at the real world, like we're not Formula One drivers, but if we're in an argument, sometimes you get heated, you might swear or you might say something that you wish you hadn't said. And that's going to happen in Formula One because they are, I mean, some of them literally are driving for their career to stay in Formula One. And if they get, if things aren't going their way, they're going to get frustrated, they're going to get angry, and they're going to let that out. They're going to vent. And at the end of the day, it's not broadcast live.
No, but the press conference was.
Well, the press conference is. But it's not just about that, is it? He's always wanting them to show up on a radio as well with all the swearing.
Yeah, but I wanted to make an example out of him. And what happened is that he didn't, like in the press conference room, he didn't want to say anything anymore. Yep. So he said to all the press members, this is not against you. This is a statement. After the conference is over, join me down in the pit lane, in the paddock, and I'll answer all your questions on our own ground.
Yeah. Just held his own press conference.
He held his own press conference, which was a great hit for social media and Red Bull and all the press, but not for the FIA.
Yeah.
I think community service is just ridiculous. The fact they try to enforce these rules is just ridiculous.
Yep.
I think we've seen it before with saying, hey, you can't wear underwear. And Vettel was it, I think, who wore a boxer short over his suit just to protest that, something like that. You can't see any underwear, something like that was mentioned. Yeah. I think Lewis was wearing four watches.
They wore 4 watches once because there was a complaint about jewelry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some of his piercings, like you literally can't really be taking those out, and if you do, you can not just easily just get them back in.
But even that, it's ridiculous because here's my quite black and white take on this, right? Mm-hmm. We drove while a couple of 100 meters next to the tracks there were missiles hitting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We drive in places where human rights aren't taken up highly. Let's put it like this.
Sometimes barely even at all. Yeah.
Or I try to say it nicely, Jit.
Yeah, I'll just say it is.
We drive in places where we promote all the cars promote cryptocurrency gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Or not? Yeah, I think actually most of the cars are. We don't promote tobacco, but we sometimes mostly secretly do at Formula One. Same with drinks. But whenever someone says the F word on a press conference, we all go mental, and we have made an example by help stewards or whatever. And the freakishly thing was they show how much Max actually did for the FIA. Like when they asked, they did press conference, he did junior series, stewarding and stuff, just to help out. And he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like now, of course, he's threatening to leave Formula One, which he isn't going to do about this. But I definitely think he made a statement this weekend. And I know I'm a Max fan, but I see people saying it's petty, or it's petty. I think petty is a good word. It is.
I think what's
but
petty,
also sort of adored.
I think what's petty is going after the drivers constantly the way that they do. It's the same as, like a year or two ago when they were going on about jewelry, and then they were just constantly going at Lewis about it when he effectively had to provide a doctor's note because it was like, this is a piece of jewelry that you can't just say, oh, I just unclip that and take it out. Like you physically need to go to, like somewhere that does piercings to have a professional remove it. It's not something that you get, like if you get your earlobe pierced, you can just, you just put a ring in it or you put a stud in it and you can just unclip that and take it out. It's not like that. Some of Lewis's piercings are like that. And it's just ridiculous. And they're doing, it's just happening again. And it feels like a flex of power on the drivers is what it is. It's about controlling. It's not, there's no reason for it other than to control. And I hate it, quite frankly. I think, the drivers are the reason why Formula One is successful. If you don't have people driving those cars fast in circles, people aren't going to watch it. So to start treating them the way that they're being treated with stuff like this is ridiculous. And good on Max for being petty about it. I think it's, if they're gonna do that to him, fair play, do it back. And that whole press conference thing, just not saying anything and then holding a separate press conference to say everything, I thought that was brilliant, because then they don't have any direct quotes really that they can put on the website from Max. But all the news outlets, other than the Formula One website, have all these quotes, snippets and information, and
It went a line further, because even Damon Hill, who isn't a Max fan at all, to say the least, he even said F these people on air.
Yeah.
Which is not something they say very lightly.
I'm not Damon Hill's biggest fan, but I will say that sometimes he does just say it like it is, and like you just said, you don't think he's Max's biggest fan. He has praised Max quite heavily for things when he's thought he's done the right thing. So I do think, this is a separate conversation, but I don't think Damon Hill specifically dislikes Max. I think he's just, it depends which way the wind's blowing with him sometimes, I think. But yeah, well, I just think it's a ridiculous thing to be doing to the drivers. Yeah, it's just stupid. It's just, like I say, it just feels like all they're trying to do is control them, for no other reason than, we haven't thought of a stupid rule lately or something stupid to do. Let's do that now.
Vasseur got a warning last year as well. They asked him for some commentaries. Mm-hmm. He said, I don't think I'm the person to talk about this subjectively.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, we won't ever get an apology, I think, from Mr. Ben Sulayem. Nope. But he definitely wasn't on a podium for the first time in forever.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Yeah, so he didn't hand out his winner's medal.
I didn't see it. Wasn't him. So
normally
he's very eager to come on stage. So.
Oh yeah, that winner's medal. They already get a trophy. Why do they need a medal as well? Other than so that he can go up there and present them with it, so that he can be sent to stage for 5 seconds. That's all it feels like. I'm just looking forward to a change of president at this point, really.
If it happens, though, 2025 is the new election.
Yeah.
But let me say this: he's got some to back him up.
He does, but then there's things like his drunken, like, just blurb that he was doing at the FIA ceremony. Was it last year or the year before when he was,
Yeah.
it's just...
No, and biggest sponsors are from the Emirates, so
Yeah, the guy needs to go. I don't think he's good for the sport. He hasn't been good for the sport since he started.
I agree. But so does Hamilton, because he was very vocal about it as well. And I think there's been more people now going at it. Even Ted.
Oh yeah, lots of people ignore him as well. Like he wants to be up on the podium to hand out his little medal, but he's also right there in the paddock for like to try and congratulate the winners when they're getting out of the car.
Yeah.
And a lot of them. Lewis did it a couple of races ago.
They just walk
Might have
past.
been at Silverstone actually. Max has done it recently. Lando's even done it. Like they just try and blank him. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like there's a nice atmosphere in Formula One with him around. Basically,
I agree, 100% agree. Okay, let's put it at that. I think we both agree that Max drove a really good race, but so did Lando.
yeah.
Or did he, James?
For the most part, yes. But there were some very, very silly mistakes that you'd never see Max clipping a wall 3 times in one race like that. I'm trying to think of an example, maybe like Canada or something. Maybe he will just skim the wall once. And then after that, I mean, I don't know whether he did at Canada this year or last year, but it's just an example. A track like that, he might skim the wall once and then you'll never see him do it again for the rest of the race.
I think it was Canada where he missed the chicane and then says, "Whoa, I almost binned it," and that's it.
Yeah,
he laughed about it, and that was it.
But Lando had 3 instances. 2 of them not too bad. One of them was a massive lapse of concentration. He completely missed his braking point, ended up locking his brakes up, almost went nose first into the wall. In fact, he pretty much did because of the way he then had to turn his car.
He lost 9 seconds in 2 laps because of it.
Clipped his wing, had some sort of light damage according to the engineer, but not enough to warrant a nose change. Stuff like that is sloppy.
Is it sloppy, or is it stamina? Is it the heat, or is it focus? Or
well, there
pressure?
Is a bit of that, isn't there? I don't think that can be ignored. Singapore is like racing in a sauna for them, isn't it? I mean, they lose. I think this is the race where they literally sweat and lose the most weight between the start and the finish of the race. And it's kilograms of weight of water, basically, that they sweat out of them. So yeah, that will play a part. There's an element of
you lose about 4% of your body weight.
Yeah,
between 2 and 4 kilograms of sweat.
Exactly.
Alone.
Yeah, kilograms of weight. Like people try to do that over weeks when they're on a diet, and these guys go out and do it in like 2 hours in a race car. Just losing all that water is obviously not healthy. And Russell and Hamilton ended up managing to be excused from some of their press.
Yeah, they couldn't go on press
responsibilities because they were so exhausted, and they basically needed to just rehydrate and rest. And there was probably other drivers similar to that.
Lando didn't look good after the race.
Lando did not look good.
But he wasn't under pressure, and that was like...
No.
The thing is, he made those mistakes, and everyone, like, if you have pressure, you can make those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Experience, common experience. It's warm. It's hard to do. I totally get that. But he was having a 20-something second lead. Almost had a free pit stop.
Yeah.
He could have had a brief pit stop, I think, even, if he wanted.
He did have enough at one point to have a free pit stop.
Yeah, 28 seconds.
Like 20, 23, 24, 25 seconds, whatever
it was a big gap. So then there's like the heat that could be the issue.
Yep.
But that could be a major issue if he was actually being pressured. I think it sort of worried me. Like Piastri didn't look that bad, and he had a way tougher race.
No, Piastri was in a sort of underdog role though for that race. He was out of position. His first stint didn't really seem to go super well, and then he massively extended. And then he came good at the end on some fresh tyres and managed to cut through a few cars. And he made pretty good progress when you look at it. I mean, he ended up finishing 20 seconds ahead of Russell.
Yeah, insane. In about 10 laps.
Yeah, very impressive. If he'd have started in, say, third position or second position on the grid, he probably would have got past Verstappen if he'd been behind him at some point during the race, and he probably would have been pressuring Norris unless Norris had managed to. I suppose it depends how long it took Piastri to get past, but yeah, he sort of was invisible for the start of the race and then suddenly came good towards the end. And I suppose there was that brief bit in the middle where it was like, oh, if a safety car came out now, he'd be right in it. But it obviously never happened because we've gone yet another race without a safety car.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It never happens with us sim racing.
No. he looked quite fresh compared to the other drivers as well, didn't Piastri? I was quite surprised by that. He looked pretty good. He looked like he's in pretty good shape, even compared to Max. Probably Max looks pretty good as well.
Albon looked pretty good as well. I mean, he did only like a quarter of a race, but
he didn't. Yeah,
no, I'm just making fun here for a bit.
Yeah, Colapinto looked a bit. Looked like it was a bit tough on him, but what was that? It was his third race.
Third Formula One race, pretty impressive, eh?
Yeah.
But just quickly back to Lando for a second.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, very good race, very good result. Optimize the result again.
Oh yeah.
Awesome qualification, perfectly done. Flying all race. I mean, brilliant. Go Lando. He's showing up now, and he got a good start.
His start was incredible.
So it has to be said as well.
He got literally the perfect start. It seemed like he made ground on everybody off the start. Like that first phase of the start for Verstappen looked pretty good, and then it was in the second phase he sort of lost a bit of ground to Norris, and then he ended up having to defend against Hamilton a bit anyway, which cost him some ground as well. So, but yeah, Norris's launch was phenomenal. And then he just drove off into the sunset pretty much, and had his three little incidents on the way that didn't cost him anything other than a bit of time. But
how big is the chance, in your opinion, now that he wins the World Driver Championship?
I still think he needs quite a perfect storm of results, and I think that's very difficult to achieve in Formula One.
6 more races, 3 sprints, though.
6 races, 3 sprints, yeah. It's already so we already know that if Norris wins everything, wins every sprint, wins every race, gets fastest lap in every race, and Max finishes second in all of those, Max wins the championship. It's not going to go that way. There's no way it can go that way. Something will happen. It always does. You'll have a freak result from one of them. We might get another instance of Norris starting down in like P12 or whatever it was, P14.
Might have to take another engine penalty.
Could be an engine penalty.
One of the only Mercedes that has not done it yet. So
yep. There is also the chance that Red Bull go back to being the third or fourth quickest car, and Max isn't finishing second every race.
The mini DRS is now banned.
Yeah, they have to tweak that, but that really was a Baku specific wing anyway.
Yeah, so it's bad for the end result.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much to them.
Good matter.
It was legal.
Las Vegas, though.
Yeah, I think we need to clarify. It was legal, but they've changed the rules to say we don't want that now.
Yeah.
So that's another instance of changing the rules in season. But it was for a wing that's not really going to get used anywhere else anyway. So, yeah, there's opportunities for teams to do some development and maybe bring some upgrades to America.
Red Bull's bringing a big upgrade there, they say.
Yeah, bring upgrades to COTA. Whether Red Bull's upgrades produce enough,
it's pretty 50-50, eh?
It's yet to be seen. Yeah, we won't know until until that weekend starts. But none of the other teams are going to be standing still either. Like,
nope.
Just because Ferrari, I don't actually know, but if Ferrari haven't yet said we're bringing upgrades to COTA, it doesn't mean that they won't be bringing upgrades to COTA. there's every chance that basically every other team brings upgrades. And McLaren are just going to be like, oh, we don't need to do anything for the rest of the season. They will still be developing too. So it's not over until it's over, basically. So I still don't think it's possible to predict who's going to win this championship.
The thing is, if you look at the points, there's now 52 point difference.
Yes.
The funny thing was, here's a little stat. Since Miami, Max Verstappen got 221 points, 221. Norris got 221 points.
Yeah.
And Piastri got 199 points since Miami.
Yeah.
The gap since Miami between Max, or on Miami, was between Max and Lando was 52 points difference.
Yep.
Now, 13 races later, it's once again 52 point difference. So over the last 13 races, well, Max hasn't done much winning races.
Yeah.
The gap has sort of been remained this, or has been exactly the same as then.
Well, it is exactly the same now. Yeah, it's fluctuated in between then, but it's now exactly the same as it was.
And Max getting 221 since Miami, where everything went down, and Norris getting 221 after, says me two things. Norris isn't optimizing because Piastri is also taking points. And
and the Ferraris, we can't ignore Leclerc.
Exactly. But also Max is pretty much optimizing still, even with a bad car. His results.
He's doing maximum damage limitation, whilst also benefiting from the fact that there isn't one single fastest driver in the single fastest car. There are potentially 4 there has been over the last 10 races. I mean, we've had Hamilton win Silverstone, Hamilton win Belgium. We've had Leclerc win
Monza,
Monaco, Monza, Piastri with his wins,
Russell win.
Yeah.
Perez. Oh wait.
The biggest problem, really, I'm going to stick with this, and it's Monza for McLaren. Yeah. They should have swapped Piastri and Norris.
And Hungary.
No, Hungary, I think, was fair to do.
I think it's fair, but they should have already made that call.
No, because at the time, I don't think they could have predicted. If you look at it with hindsight now, you'd say, yeah, they should have swapped.
I said it we talked about the Hungary Grand Prix.
Well, we said it at the time, but I think at the time it wasn't obvious that McLaren were going to become the fastest team and were potentially going to make
but I said back then, James, if they have any ambition of winning the World Driver Championship, this is the time to just gamble on one horse and go and at least try to push it.
I'm going to have to agree to disagree on that.
That's fair.
It's just because for me, it was too early in the season to be doing that. And you are ruining the confidence and trust of a potential star that you want to keep in the team. If you do that to Piastri that early in the season, Piastri's not going to hang around with McLaren, and he could go anywhere he wants at this point. He's proven himself. Any team would take him.
No.
When there's suitable space for him anyway, he might not move next season, but 2026, 2027, he probably would. So they can't treat Piastri that way. And Norris only ended up in the lead because he was given a beneficial treatment strategy or pit stop when he wasn't the lead car, and it was to cover. Who was it? It was to cover an undercut from somebody else when Piastri was, up the road, and it was all on the basis that we'll swap you back around because we know that we've given Norris an unfair advantage by doing that. So we'll give him that, but then he'll give you the position back. So, but Monza, you're further in the season. And in Monza, you say to Piastri, remember how we asked Norris to give you the position back in Hungary? We need you to repair the favour now.
Yeah.
Because everything that was said to Norris at Hungary was, think about the championship, think about the season, you might need him later in the season. He has needed him, but so far, they've not instigated that for him. So he's kind of been sold a bit of a lie so far. So if anything, Norris should be a bit annoyed because he was.
I think he was at Monza.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't Monza, and he obviously wasn't Hungary. But he should still be annoyed because he was asked to do something for the team, and on the basis that if it comes to a point where you need Piastri, do this now, and Piastri will be on your side later on, and we'll ask
Maybe
him,
Piastri can do a Bottas bowling max off in the last race or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's not go there, please.
Well, it's all they can do when they're fighting two teams.
Yeah, true. But there's some commentaries. I don't think we have time to fully go into, but I found this interesting. I think we could pretty much agree that McLaren is the fastest car since Miami, right?
Yeah, it does seem to be, yeah.
And I saw some commentaries saying you got 13 races of having at least top 2 fastest car at McLaren.
Well, the one caveat I'd say to that is it's track dependent, and that's like almost any other car. In fact, it is any other car.
Yeah, but like
because even the Red Bull last year, fastest car by a mile, basically everywhere other than Singapore.
True, but this is to say, like he's 13 races of having basically the fastest car.
Yep.
You not win. This is pretty much not the maximum result out of it.
No.
The more impressive it is actually if you look at last year when Max has the fastest car, like not a doubt, right? Fastest car as well. What was on top except one weekend?
Yeah. The only thing I'd say there is that car was phenomenally fast.
Well, McLaren is now as well.
Well, it isn't. It isn't. I mean, he's getting beaten by Ferrari now and then. He got beaten by Mercedes now and then. Like, sometimes
it got beaten by a Ferrari on strategy, not on speed.
That's still being beaten.
Yeah, but that's more like a team mistake than the car is bad.
Yeah, but that
if Red Bull makes mistakes on the strategy last year, they would have made it neither. So it all has clear.
They were never. I don't think Red Bull were ever in a position where that could have happened because they were so fast. This is what I mean. They were far and away faster than anyone else. And yeah, okay, Monza, but there's still Monaco. There's still Spa, where they clearly weren't the fastest car for that weekend.
Here's the real story, though. Last topic of the show, James.
Yep.
Perez scored 37 points in that same period.
Perez shouldn't be in that car. And Perez shouldn't be in that team. Perez probably shouldn't really be in Formula One anymore.
37 points versus 221, and 199.
When you look at the drivers that are fighting for a seat, and you're Perez in a Red Bull performing like that, and this is going back to also Red Bull when it was a fast car at the beginning of the season. I mean, it's a fast-ish car now, but it's not the fastest car. But at the beginning of the season, it was a very fast car. Why that changed doesn't really matter for this conversation, but Perez still wasn't performing even then.
37 points in 13 races for top 8 car. Just ridiculously bad.
They've got Yuki and Daniel Ricciardo sat there in what's supposed to be like the junior team. Ricciardo's not a junior. Yuki Tsunoda's not really a junior at this point. He's been in the Formula 1 for 4 years now, I think it is. You got Lawson waiting for a seat, probably going to take Ricciardo's seat for the rest of the season, it seems. I don't actually know what junior drivers they've got after that as well, potentially in like F2 and stuff. Right. So they've got all these drivers, and then they've got Perez sat there taking up the one of the hottest seats. Well, the hottest seat in the Red Bull family of seats.
Yeah, but because there's still Mexico coming up, mate.
Well, that's all it is. It's because if they sack Perez, they'll go to Mexico and the cartel will probably come after them or something. Like, they're going to need security. I mean, they need security anyway. Apparently, I remember... Oh, no, this is
Brazil.
No, that was Brazil. That's Brazil, no, when Button's car was almost...
Yeah, where the pit crew got kidnapped from Toyota.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, crazy. It's crazy stuff.
But
Yeah,
no, but
they would riot, absolute riot. The track would probably be absolutely destroyed if Perez got fired
yeah,
before. And that's all it is. It is the fact that he's got a massive fan base and he does bring in some money, but he's not a fast driver anymore.
they're
He's been
gonna
on
hit
the
third in the world driver of a world constructor title. They're now second, but they'll finish third at least. It's not gonna be.
more than likely.
And I wanted to go into Ricardo because a little bit of a Red Bull culture. Red Bull's been set cutthroat, and this was my last focus point, right?
Mhm.
Red Bull's gone extremely soft, and here's why. If you keep Paris in the car because of Mexico's coming up, and we're just speculating, right? But I don't see any other reason why they should be.
I can think
37
of one
points
more
versus
reason, but
221,
yeah.
right? They scored 350 points versus 400 something points for McLaren, and the difference was one driver. Then you say to Daniel Ricciardo, there's rumors, everyone know, there's probably a clause in his contract saying if you didn't perform at Singapore and you get this result, it's over for you. That's probably in his contract. He doesn't want to comment on it, but he's crying after the race.
Yeah.
Literally in tears. So this was his last race.
Yeah.
So James, they are soft on Perez. They get Ricardo back. But if you want to say, I think Daniel Ricciardo is like one of the big Red Bull guys, right? Part of the family, etc.
Yeah.
If this is his last race, and you want to go like send him out with a fast lap, and that's his parade lap or whatever, but then you say in front of before the race, you say this is Daniel's last race, and we're going to respect him. This is going to be all his weekend. We might not ever see him in front of her. It's not going to happen, but like he might not start in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out through the back door, and that's one of your legendary drivers. So yeah, they go soft to Paris, but they let Daniel just muffle out and say leave the party early. It's super frustrating to see.
If that was Ricciardo's last race, that's disgusting treatment.
You worded better than I do, but that's what I said. Yeah,
he look at what he did for them when he moved up, and he moved up to Red Bull, 2014. He beat Vettel, and effectively forced Vettel out of the team.
Yeah,
because Vettel was the young gun. Suddenly, there's a young gun arriving that's beating him. And he's like, well, rather than ruin my legacy, I'm just going to go try or see it ruined at Red Bull. I'm going to leave immediately and I'm going to go chase that Ferrari dream. And, what happened there. But Ricciardo did that. That was Ricciardo coming in and being a very fast driver. Like, nobody can take that away from him ever. And he battled with Max when they were teammates. They
were a marketing machine dream.
They were. Okay, the final season, I mean,
they're still best friends. It's not.
Yeah, Max had a lot of bad luck with engines for one season, and then Ricciardo had it himself the next season. Like, he had something like 9 DNFs from engine failure.
Yeah, Mach 7 in the year before that. So
he had the most atrocious and unfortunate luck. He went chasing money, went to Renault. Really, he didn't do that bad at Renault. He did. I think he did all right.
He won a race.
He won a race for them.
He went to McLaren, won a race.
Exactly. He won a race at McLaren before Norris, the golden child at McLaren.
Yeah.
Which I think Norris was very bitter about. Same when Piastri won that sprint race as well. Actually, he was like, "Oh yeah, congrats," but yeah, he just seemed a bit annoyed about it. Like, it was like, I should be winning the races because I'm the golden boy sort of thing. But
a wonderful career.
Back to Ricciardo. Ricciardo's had a very good career. I don't think anyone can look back at that and okay, he's not had the best races for McLaren, even though he got that win. And then when he's come back to VCAB, Toro Rosso, not Red Bull, he's he's maybe not shone as brightly as people were hoping. Certainly not as brightly as I was hoping. I thought he would come in and he'd do really well. I think if you look at the stats over the season so far of him versus Yuki, they're roughly tied. Maybe not in points, but like qualifying and race results. One beats the other for a few races at the start of the season, and then the other beats the other one for a few races the next half of the season. So I feel like they're sort of there and thereabouts together. They're roughly on par with each other.
James, if you say the Toros on the old man talking Red Bulls,
RB,
RB,
VCARB,
yeah. If that has to be the junior team, you kick out Perez, you put Daniel next to Max, make that a marketing machine. They'll fight. They won't fight. Daniel won't fight for the world championship, but he'll get some wins. He'll fight for it along with it. You got like a marketing machine dream. We get some amazing interviews because if there's any presence, it's his presence, right? It's amazing.
Absolutely.
And you put in Lawson next to Yuki and say to them, you guys have both 1 year to duke out. The next year, Kajar's next is taking the other seat. Be clear, be cutthroat, be done.
They'd be better teammates as well than Max and Perez. Perez has been absolutely...
Perez is not a teammate for Max. He's
been absolutely destroyed by Max, but he still thinks that he's got this opportunity to beat Max at some point.
I don't know if he actually thinks that or he just says that in the mirror to make sure he does.
I think whatever it is, I don't think you'd really get that from Ricciardo at this stage in his career. I think if Ricciardo went to Red Bull now, he wouldn't particularly beat Verstappen at many races, if any. But I think he would admit that,
and it would be much closer.
And I think he would play the Bottas role.
Yes.
It's
such a shame we won't see that, mate.
Yeah.
And maybe so sad seeing him go like this. Yeah, and we don't know, of course, for sure. But we have a 3-week break now. This is second week news normally.
Yeah.
They wait 1 week.
What's frustrating about it is they were denying it halfway through last week before the weekend started. And then after he gets his fastest lap and steals that away.
He's crying. That's not,
Yeah, and then you've got the team principal making a statement saying, "Oh, it might be his final race. We don't know yet. It's yet to be seen." So, if you want to give somebody a send off, you don't go into the race saying, "It might be your final race."
Disgusting. That's my biggest frustration of the weekend.
It is, yeah. And I'm also. I mean, we haven't got into it, but I'm not happy about the going for the fastest lap like that either, because there's a massive conflict of interest between those two teams.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion we could talk another hour of, because there's no intercommunication. But there's no intercommunication between teams allowed.
No, but they can talk before. They can talk when they're having a coffee in the morning at a hotel and stuff like that.
For sure. And I mean, and then the other side is they still have, like, he was so far behind. Yeah, they see it as it's hard, but I get what you're saying. But it's something Haas could do if they're not out of the points for Ferrari. It's just that McLaren doesn't have anyone to do so.
That's the problem. They never have. They never have.
Well, they've never been fast enough either. But
Magnussen briefly had the fastest lap. He went off track. He was on brand new tyres, but that was forced by a puncture. That wasn't.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that. But that's always been the point with this situation.
I think the problem is that the fact that the two teams, they're independent, but they're effectively both Red Bull teams.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't matter if they're not even allowed to talk. They're part of the same family. So if one of them, like the smaller team, looks at the current situation and is like, "Oh, we can steal a point off them and help the big team," like they don't need to have a conversation.
No, and I mean, I agree there. But there's we also had Russell at Williams trying to help Lewis at Mercedes when he was there as well. Holding off Max.
Yeah, but you don't get that now. That's the thing, that McLaren, Mercedes and Williams don't run like that anymore. And
no,
really, Ferrari and Haas don't either. There's not they're customers. They're not technical partners or junior teams or whatever anymore. So I don't.
But I think this is always. So I get how it looks, but I saw people saying, Red Bull always does it, give them a ring, and then they do follow. I don't think it's like that either. It's also Norris had chance to do a pit stop and just blow away with it if they really wanted a point.
Well,
Or
that's a
if
big risk.
they could also pit Piastri and before to still win the world constructor
Well,
championship, you still get the point.
Piastri never had a chance to do that really because he never got more than 20 seconds. He needed
no, but then he leaves the points on the table, but he takes it away from. It doesn't actually matter. No,
he wouldn't have been able to react to Ricciardo doing it because Ricciardo did it literally the last lap, and he's the last person on the track. So.
But then I agree with you. It's definitely something that's iffy.
The problem is that because they're both owned by the same parent company, at the end of the day,
not official anymore, right? No,
you could, but there's still Red Bull teams, Red Bull livery or whatever. You're still at a point where you can still think it, and that's part of the problem. I think really VCarb shouldn't be a Red Bull family team. I think not when you've got other teams knocking on the door, wanting to join the grid, and then you've got the owners of Formula One saying, no, we don't want any more teams. You'll have to buy a team. And then you've got one not manufacturer, but you're like one sponsor or whatever, or owner running two teams, even if they are running them independently. Like, there's just get...
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
But this is always the problem is it's always going to look suspicious, even if it is a case of Ricciardo's on his last race, but that would have worked if they
announced it on the
if they'd have just said, right, people are not going to like this, but Ricciardo will be leaving the team at the end of this race. This will be his last race.
No,
and then if he goes out and gets his fastest lap, it'd be like. A little bit suspicious, but it's his last race, and we know it's his last race, so he wants to go and just do a really fast lap.
No, I agree. If you disagree or agree, let us know in the comments because we have one more thing to do.
It's probably one for the comments. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, because we have one more thing to do. We have to discuss our upcoming race, which is in 3 weeks. So we have a 3-week break from doing this podcast, and we have to quickly look at the predictions we did.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, of course. And suddenly you start smiling. Okay, Singapore, we had a score of 26-24 in your advantage after Baku. You said Leclerc gets pole position. I said Piastri gets pole position. We were both wrong.
Yeah.
You said Norris would win. I said Russell would win. Don't know what happened there, but you got a point. 27-24 for you. You said the first DNF is going to be Checo. It wasn't. It was Albon. And I said Norris because, hey, you never know what happens.
I mean, he wouldn't have been the first, but he had 3 goes at DNFing.
He tried. He tried hard.
He certainly tried.
And the bonus question was the finish for Max Verstappen. You said he will be 5th. I said he has to be 6th. This track sucks for them. And he miraculously came in 2nd, which means you get another point, meaning the current results are 28-24 in your advantage.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It was a good weekend for you, my friend.
Yeah.
Now we go to Austin.
I wasn't expecting this because the last few races before this weekend and last weekend, you were really mean at rate knots.
Yeah. So what happened is Max overperformed this week and I underperformed.
Yeah.
Hopefully that happens next weekend as well. I gladly give up my predictions.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you don't mind losing a point to Max finishing 2nd.
Exactly. It is what it is. I was poor for saying Russell would win, though. James Austin, 3 more weeks to one of the best tracks in the world, in my honest opinion. Kota.
It is a nice track, yeah.
Who's going to get the pole position at Kota?
I'm going to go in Norris.
I can't go with Norris because else I won't make any chances of doing this here. So I'm going to say Leclerc.
Okay, yeah. Leclerc was also the other person I was thinking.
Who's going to win it?
I'm gonna stick with Norris on that one as well. Yeah.
Here comes I'm going to say Max.
Oh, I mean he's faster, and at some point,
if you get 2nd, this is my reasoning behind it. Yes, Norris won. Yes, Max ended up 20 seconds past behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, the question was, would he even make it to Q3? If you get second on a track that does not do well for your car,
Mm-hmm.
and Kota normally does, they could be back.
Could be.
We'll see in 3 weeks. But that's my hopium I will have to live on for next year. All right, James. First DNF.
First DNF. I'm going to go with Yuki.
If I say Daniel, does it count if he doesn't start?
No, because he doesn't start. He's not a contender.
I know. So I'm going to say Albon. And why am I saying Albon? Because I have not, it's a packed podcast, but I just wanted to give my applaud to that so-called dive bomb Colapinto did at the start. But he's been proven that all weekend that he can put the pressure on Albon. And I know Albon has been called like he's the top driver that's not in the top team.
Yeah.
And when I see Colapinto, his social media commentaries, his interviews, his drive, him cursing in the pit lane because he forgot his glove on Friday, he just cracks me up, and I'm a fan. And
I am.
Please,
he needs a seat next year. Formula One needs him. I really hope that Sauber decide to take him, because he's a proven driver in Formula One now.
Yeah, throw Yuki out and make it a junior team, really junior. Put Lawson and put Colapinto in.
Yeah. I mean,
and then forget
Williams have taken a Red Bull driver before in
Albon. So
in Albon when he was still a Red Bull driver when he first went there. Yeah. So yeah, maybe loan him off to Toro Rosso. Yeah, I've done it as well. To VCARB, yeah. He needs a seat. I don't want to lose him from Formula One now. I love the kid. I think he's brilliant.
Exactly.
Same as you. He's like a puppy.
He's like a puppy. I think there goes all our Argentina fans again.
No, in a really nice way. He seems happy to be there, and he constantly seems overwhelmed in a way. Like
big eyes, big smile.
He doesn't come across like somebody who thinks that they have a right to be in Formula One. No. I'm the best driver ever. I should be in Formula One. And when they get to the Formula One, they act like they'll talk like I belong here. They like last weekend. He was saying like the best moment of the weekend was getting tapped on the shoulder, and then getting a high five or shaking hands with Hamilton. Because he's a massive Hamilton fan, and he's like, I can't believe that. It made my day and stuff like that. He's like, he feels like one of us in a way, if that makes sense. Somebody who's just, they're in Formula One because, I mean, they've got talent. Obviously, he's a brilliant driver, but he's just really likable. He really is.
If Albon is the first DNF, what I think. Can I go for the bonus question? I did last week. If you have any, you can do it, but also...
No, go for it. I didn't actually think of one. So.
I knew. And I wanted to hint to Colapinto, because where will Colapinto finish in Austin?
Well, that's a good question.
I know. Thank you.
You can answer even though you asked the question, you can answer this one first if you want, because I think I answered first last time.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to say 10th position. He's going to take home a point.
I think he'll finish in the points, so I'm going to say 9th. Yeah.
All right, so 9th position.
I think it'll be a good circuit for I think it'll be a good circuit for Williams. So
yeah, but this is a track where they have 3 safety cars.
There will be a safety car.
Oh, yeah. It always has to come now somewhere.
The safety car is a lie.
Yeah, but by now it's just flying around the wheels. Like maybe this time it happens. He's like me trying to beat you at time trials. Like maybe this time. And I'm sitting there, all decked out. Let's go. An hour later, it's like, yeah, well, that happened.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thanks, James. Hey, I'm going to see you in 3 weeks, though. But if you are listening to this show on podcast services around the world, I really don't think we have much to talk about in 3 weeks. But something really big will pop up. Meanwhile, we'll be making some sim racing content on the YouTube channel. So go check that out. Hit that like and subscribe button. I want to thank all of us. There's been 2 influxes of fans the last couple of weeks, and I don't know what happened. The Argentina fans have been terrific. Thank you so much for tuning in. Muchas gracias. That's my best Spanish I can do, but I appreciate it. But also the Dutch fans, James. I knew we were listening in England, but we didn't have much Dutch fans, but suddenly it started growing. So,
cool.
Must be because of your popular opinions.
Please leave a comment. I'd love to know how you found us. Just a bit of interaction would be cool. Yeah, because we'll be around, even though we might not be doing a podcast for 3 weeks until the next race. We'll still be active and online, so we can have a chat, can leave comments, stuff like that.
Maybe do a Daniel Ricciardo tribute or a Ben Suleiman tribute. Or
we can only hope.
Or in the Zoo podcast called No Words, We Don't Say Anything. James, thank you very much, my friend. I already hear the music playing on the background, which means I'm going to see you in 3 weeks. Well, actually, I'm going to see you tomorrow. But I see everyone listening. Thank you so much. Hit that like, subscribe. You're more appreciated. Take it easy during the break and see you in 3 weeks. Bye-bye.
See you later.